unfortunate news has once again hit the NBA world, and this one is a real gut punch for the Sacramento Kings. Just when the season was right around the corner, their rising star has gone down with a serious injury, and this could change everything for Sacramento's playoff hopes. The team has officially announced that Keegan Murray has suffered a torn UCL in his left thumb, an injury that will require surgery and is expected to sideline him for at least 4 to 6 weeks. This is brutal timing. The NBA season is barely a week away, and the Kings, who were already fighting for their spot in a brutal Western Conference, have just lost one of their most valuable two-way players. Let's be real. Sacramento doesn't have the kind of roster where they can afford to lose a key rotation piece this early. They're not the kind of team that can just plug in another star and move on. They live and die by chemistry, depth, and role balance. And Keegan Murray is a critical part of that balance. He brings a rare combination of size, shooting, and defensive versatility that this team badly needs. Without him, their wing rotation looks thinner, and their defensive identity gets a little weaker. Now, Murray's shooting numbers have been a talking point all offseason. His three-point percentage has quietly slipped from his rookie year, falling below league average at 34% last season. That's not ideal, but it also doesn't tell the full story. Even when the shots aren't falling, Murray gives Sacramento something most of their scorers don't: length, defense, and floor spacing. When your other top names are scorers like Zach LaVine, Malik Monk, and DeMar DeRozan, guys whose primary weapon is putting the ball in the basket, losing someone who actually defends, moves without the ball, and can stretch the floor hurts even more. Murray isn't a superstar, but for Sacramento, he's the kind of player that makes everything else work. And when your roster already lacks defensive stoppers, losing someone like him can shift your entire season. The Western Conference doesn't wait for anyone. If you start slow, if you lose just a few key games in October and November, by December, you can already be on the outside of the playoff picture. And here's the thing. Sacramento is a bubble team. They're not a lock like the big dogs out west. With Denver Nuggets, Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Dallas Mavericks all loading up, there's almost no margin for error. A 4 to 6 week absence can easily be the difference between a top 6 seed and the play-in. And for Sacramento, that's dangerous territory. But that's not the only storyline here. Murray's injury also drops right in the middle of contract extension talks. He's currently eligible for a rookie scale extension, and the deadline is October 20th, just over a week away. That means the Kings have to make a huge financial decision about a player who isn't even on the floor. That's a tough position to be in for both sides. Remember what happened with Utah Jazz and Walker Kessler. Utah decided to wait it out, betting on restricted free agency instead of committing early. And they're not the only team doing this. In fact, across the league, we've seen players like Quentin Grimes, Jonathan Kuminga, Cam Thomas, and Josh Giddey face similar situations. Teams are more cautious now. Unless you're willing to take a team-friendly deal, they're comfortable waiting to match offers in restricted free agency instead of committing big money early. So what happens with Keegan? That's the million-dollar question. Sacramento needs to see growth from him, particularly from three-point range, before throwing a massive extension his way. But now he won't be playing. And to make matters more complicated, he's off to a cold start in the preseason, 0 for 6 from deep through 2 games. Yes, it's a tiny sample size, but when you combine that with a fresh injury and an upcoming contract deadline, the pressure on both sides intensifies. There's also a psychological angle here. Players entering a contract year often want to start strong. They want to prove their worth. Murray won't have that chance now, and for a young player trying to solidify his role as a future core piece, that can mess with your rhythm and confidence. The bottom line is simple. The Sacramento Kings can't exactly feel confident about Keegan Murray's three-point shot right now. His shooting has been trending in the wrong direction since last season, and the preseason hasn't done much to ease those concerns. And when your front office is in the middle of serious extension talks, this kind of uncertainty is exactly what complicates everything. Yes, Murray still gives them switchable defense. He's got size, versatility, and a skill set Sacramento badly needs on the wing. But if the shot doesn't start falling, how comfortable can the Kings really be in committing big money long term? That's the uncomfortable question hanging over their head. But while the Murray situation raises questions about the team's future, there's another storyline heating up fast: the possible arrival of Russell Westbrook. Rumors have been swirling all week. On one side, there's talk of big offers for Russ to continue his career in China. But on the other side, strong reports say the Kings are still interested in bringing him in. The problem? Roster space. Sacramento hasn't yet been able to clear a guard spot, which is why a deal hasn't happened yet. But make no mistake, there's real mutual interest between Westbrook and the Kings. Sacramento is searching for a reserve point guard, and last season exposed exactly why. They ranked 29th in bench points and 29th in bench assists. That second unit struggled to create offense when the starters sat, and the lack of veteran leadership off the bench was obvious. Russ may not be the MVP he once was, but he can still change the tempo of a game. He can push the pace, collapse defenses, and ignite energy in a way that few bench guards can. There's also a big chemistry angle here. Russ already has strong relationships inside the organization. He shares LA ties with several of their stars, including Domantas Sabonis, Dennis Schroeder, DeMar DeRozan, and Zach LaVine. Plus, there's respect between him and assistant GM BJ Armstrong. And with Doug Christie at the helm as head coach, the vibe behind the scenes is more friendly than transactional. So why hasn't the move happened yet? Simple. Sacramento needs to move a guard first. Their backcourt is crowded, and until that logjam is cleared, Russ can't slide in. But the fit is interesting. With Murray out, the Kings need more playmaking and energy to survive those tough early weeks. And Russ brings exactly that. But there's a flip side too. Some fans, as seen all over recent discussions, are skeptical. They worry Russ could disrupt the spacing or the rhythm of a team that's built its identity around flow, shooting, and chemistry. They fear the Kings could turn a short-term bandage into a long-term headache. Still, if the Kings start the season slow without Murray, that calculus might change fast. A losing skid early in a stacked West can put you in a hole that's hard to climb out of. And that's where Westbrook becomes more than just a rumor. He becomes a potential lifeline. The question isn't whether the Kings like Russ. They clearly do. The question is whether they'll make the bold move to bring him in now, or if Russ takes the overseas offers and this door closes for good. The Kings are walking a tightrope. On one side, they need stability and shooting. On the other, they need energy and depth. Russ brings one. Murray's injury makes them vulnerable for the other. And in a West where every game matters, the next move could define their season. And honestly, if they don't act fast, they might watch Russ suit up somewhere else. Or worse for them, watch their season slip before it even starts. Right now, one of the most unpredictable situations in the NBA revolves around Russell Westbrook. The former MVP is stuck in a limbo that no one saw coming. There was even a massive overseas offer on the table, a deal reportedly worth around $10 million to play in China. That's nearly 4 times what he'd make in an NBA minimum contract. Think about that. A player who once defined explosiveness in the league, now weighing whether to leave the NBA just to keep hooping. But Russ isn't done. His competitive fire is still burning. There's a belief he wants to stay in the league. And one of the few teams connected to him right now is Sacramento Kings. The problem? Their roster is packed. There's no clear spot for him, and stylistically, the fit isn't perfect. Let's be honest. Yes, the Kings could use another ball handler off the bench. Yes, they could use an energy spark. But Russell Westbrook isn't just a plug-and-play piece. He's a force of nature, and forces of nature don't always blend easily. Russ had a better season last year than most people gave him credit for with the Denver Nuggets. His shot creation, leadership, and energy were still there. He can still turn a quiet arena into a storm in a matter of minutes. But the issue isn't heart, it's fit. Westbrook isn't the kind of efficient scorer that perfectly complements Sacramento's existing core. The Kings already have multiple high-usage guards like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Malik Monk. Bringing in Russ would only make things more complicated. Some nights, he'll explode with 20-plus points and a triple-double type of impact. But on other nights, his inefficiency could hurt spacing. And for a team like Sacramento, that's dangerous. The only way this makes sense is if the Kings open up a guard spot, most likely by moving Malik Monk, which they reportedly explored in a trade centered around Jonathan Kuminga. That deal never happened. Kuminga stayed with the Golden State Warriors, and Westbrook stayed stuck. No team, no clarity, just uncertainty. For Russ, signing with Sacramento would at least keep him in the NBA, something that clearly matters to him. He's not ready to be a farewell tour guy. He wants to compete. But for the Kings, this move is risky, very risky. And here's where things get even more complicated. Keegan Murray is now dealing with an injury that could keep him out for 4 to 6 weeks. If that timeline stretches even a little longer, Sacramento's depth gets exposed. Defensively, Murray's presence is critical. And if you bring Westbrook into that rotation without Murray's defense to balance the floor, you're looking at serious lineup headaches. Russ is still a talented player. He deserves to be in this league. His explosiveness may not be what it once was, but his intensity is unmatched. The real question is, does Sacramento have the structure to maximize him instead of just using him? From a pure talent perspective, yes, he can help. But from a basketball fit standpoint, it's hard to picture him lifting Sacramento higher in the Western Conference standings. In fact, if they force this move without solving their defensive gaps, it could backfire badly. This is a moment of truth for both sides. Westbrook wants one more real run in the NBA. Sacramento wants to keep pace in a brutal West. If the Kings make room, Russ gets a shot to prove the doubters wrong. But if not, the $10 million offer from China might start to look a little more tempting. Either way, this is a pivotal crossroad in Russell Westbrook's career, the kind that could define how the final chapter of his NBA story is written.